everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Nhan Lam. I'm the founder of Fortune Homes and Nhan Lam Academy. First of all, Happy New Year. And 2022 is going to be a great year. And I know a whole lot of things, different things happened in 2020 and 2021. But you know what? Despite the different things that are happening out there in the world with the pandemic and the economy, life moves forward and we're getting a better handle on it. We're going to adjust as needed. And that's what capitalists do, is that we adjust to changing markets. Okay. So tonight, guys, I'm super excited about getting started and also talking about some marketing techniques that you can use to get your deals together for this coming year for real estate. For those who don't know me, I've been doing real estate investing for the last 10 years. I started off part-time. My background's in engineering and worked for the government as a contractor for a while. Finding out later that they weren't paying me what I was worth and I couldn't accomplish my financial goals while I was there. So I started off on a part-time basis. Within 2.5 years, completed 12 fix and flip deals part-time while still working my full-time job, just so I can pay my bills, keep my health benefits. And once I had enough cash flow and enough business going in the pipeline, I went ahead and fired my boss, fired my job, and I've been doing this full-time ever since then. I'm blessed to have 5 beautiful children, along with a beautiful wife and a stay-at-home parent. And it's been a true blessing because with last year, especially with all the kids in virtual learning, by us being here and not having to go out to an office building to go to work, we were able to be there for our little kids to go through a very difficult time with virtual learning and making sure they're safe in school and all those different things. So it's been a true blessing. But as we get the presentation pulled up here, we're going to get started about our topic tonight, which is how to get started right and also how to market for deals. All right. So we'll go ahead and pull up the presentation here and we'll go through that together. So as you guys know, you'll be seeing a chat tool on the lower right corner, and you'll be getting some reminders from our staff along the way with regards to asking questions. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please do type them in the chat in the box in the lower right corner. And what we're going to do is we're going to address those questions in the order they're received at the end of the presentation. So don't be shy to ask questions, because there are no questions that are too dumb or too stupid. There are always questions because questions help bring answers to the table, which helps build confidence, and that confidence will then instill actions and activity to get you results later on. Okay, so don't be afraid to ask questions. So if you're starting off brand new right now, what do you do? Well, first, you want to form a limited liability company or an LLC. An LLC is simply an entity that you use to buy properties and put things under contract with instead of your personal name. And you do that so that way you can protect your personal assets in case stuff goes south. And every smart business person does this. Every successful business person understands the value of entity creation, entity structure, not only for tax purposes, but also asset protection purposes. All right. So once you have the LLC created, you then go to the IRS website and register that new LLC with a tax identification number or an EIN. And that is for free. You can get that for free on the IRS website, and you get that number. And now you're ready to open a bank account. Because you'll have your LLC documents, you have your tax ID number, and you can go to the bank and open your very first business account and get that going there, so you have business checks and ready to do business. You also want to hire an attorney to draft up your LLC documents as required. Okay. And we mentioned you want to open a bank account already. I suggest using a community bank, so that way you have the ability to build a relationship with them. And then later on, you want to establish credibility. Now, credibility takes time. It's not overnight. So when you have a business, you want to be patient. You want to be patient enough to see it to the end, because it will not be an overnight process. Okay. All right. So that's how you get started. Now, once you get all set up already, you're all the boring stuff. That's all the legalities, right? Now comes the exciting stuff, when you start searching for opportunities. Now, what is a good opportunity in our marketplace as real estate investors? All right. What are different ways to identify leads that are qualified to what we need and what we can serve the public? All right. So what are different ways to market? Let's go through that real quick. Okay. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen these before on Bad and Science in the Median. I'm sure you've seen, excuse me, you've seen it before on billboards and different commercials or websites, whatnot. But we buy houses is a pretty big theme out there. And that's exactly what we do. We buy houses, and then we buy them as is. We buy them for cash. And that's why we get them at deep discounts. Okay. So you can do direct mail. You can have these cards. I mean, every time you go into your mailbox, I'm sure you have some kind of advertisement throughout the week, whether it be advertisement to redo your driveway, to clean your gutters, to redo your roof, or some contractors wanting to get work or whatnot, you have direct mail all the time. And generally, what you do is if you see something you don't need, you throw it away. If you see it, you consider it as junk mail. All right. But what happens over time is that if you see it often enough, it becomes familiar to you. And the more familiar it is to you, then the more credibility it brings to the marketplace. All right. So the first time they may have no credibility, so they throw it out in the trash. But the second time, now they say, you know what, I've seen this before. It registers in their subconscious that this is familiar, therefore it's increased credibility. So they may put it aside for future use. All right. And then you may hit somebody who really needs to use you now because they need to sell their house, or they know someone who needs to sell their house like yesterday to avoid pre-foreclosure, to avoid a number of things. All right. So, direct mail is a great way to get some leads. Now, it does cost money, postage, and also your cards that you print out from your printer. Okay. Referrals. I love this way the best. When I first started, this is mostly what I did. And referrals are the great way to get started because it doesn't cost any money. Everyone knows somebody. And everyone who knows somebody also knows somebody deeper down, and so forth and so forth. A wise mentor in prospecting taught me that you're only 7 phone calls away to getting access with someone of significant importance inside the White House. All right. And regardless of your political affiliation, getting access to the White House is a very difficult thing to a common American. All right. But if you're only 7 phone calls away, that's a big deal. So in analogy, you're 7 phone calls away or 7 contacts away from getting your first deal in real estate. So the moral of the story is everyone knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who may know someone who just sold their house like yesterday. Because houses need to be sold at some point in time. The question is when and sold to who. All right. When and to who. And what you want to do is be there at the right place at the right time to address the when, but also to address the who. You want them to know that you exist and you can serve them and buy their house as is with cash and do it quickly. So referrals are another great way to be able to get this done. The other ones we mentioned earlier was signs. You've seen this in the medians a lot. This yellow, gold, black signs says we buy houses, and then you see a phone number there. All right. Sometimes you see a toll-free number. Sometimes you see a local number. All right. So I generally like local numbers because most people who love to work with someone in the house, they want to work with someone local and not someone national. Okay. So they support mom and pop shops. Mom and pop shops are very evident when you have a local phone number. Okay. And plus, local phone numbers are generally free. If you get a Google Voice number and you get a toll-free number, that's going to cost you money. So I generally, if I'm first starting off, I like to things to be as cheap and smart as possible. And once I get my first deal, go into profit mode, I may invest in something that's a little bit better, something more robust to handle the volume of leads that I'll be getting in the future. But starting off, you can think cheap, think wisely, and it all works the same. All right. And then online, all right. Online presence is a big deal, a big thing now. We got Google ads, we got Facebook ads, we got Instagram, Craigslist, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those different avenues with different audiences and different types of people that use those tools to access their social life or to look up things that they need. All right. Back in the day, it was the yellow pages. All right. Today, everything's online. Okay. And even with the older generation, they're accustomed to using yellow pages. They're starting to use things more online. So the best thing to do is have an online presence so that way you can cast a bigger net as possible. That includes having a good website. So that way people go to your website, they see that this company exists and it's credible and they were willing to do business with you because it seems credible. Okay. All right. Next slide. All right. Well, what is a good deal? All right. So let's go through how do you get an actual good deal, because there's a lot of leads out there, but not all leads are good deals. And you as an investor want a good deal, something with good margins where you can find and use it as a rental, use it to fix and flip and sell for profit, or use it to a wholesale to another investor. Either way, you want to make a profit in either scenario. All right. So you want to look for a deal where the owner of the house needs cash immediately, like yesterday. Something circumstances have happened to where the only access they have to cash right now is not the bank, it's not the credit card, but it's the equity in a piece of property that they own or control. So in those situations, they need to sell it like yesterday. You can go in with a fast cash offer and they're willing to sell to you at a discount because you can close fast with cash. If they're going to list on the open market, guess what? They have to now hire a realtor. That realtor now has to list it to the open market. The open market now has to find a buyer. That buyer needs to write a contract. The buyer then needs to do a home inspection, needs to do an appraisal, needs to qualify for a mortgage. By the time you're done, it's going to be 2 months, all right, before they get money in the bank account. But if they work with someone like us, they can get money in their bank account in 2 weeks or less, which is a whole lot better than 2 months. So you tell them 2 weeks or 2 months, which do you want? Okay, money in 2 weeks or money in 2 months, and there's no certainty that you'll get money in 2 months or not, because now you're testing the marketplace. Whereas I, the investor, I'm right here and I can help you right now. So the question, if they want certain with some certainty, they work with you. If they want to gamble a little bit and they're not too, they don't need cash immediately, then that's not a qualified seller. You can keep their phone number in your back pocket to follow up with them once they are ready to sell quickly. But if they're not ready to sell quickly, they're probably not going to give you a deep discount because they're not motivated enough. Okay, so you want to look for people who need cash immediately. All right, or maybe people who don't have the resources to maintain their property. You know, if you live in the property, it costs money to maintain it. You got inclement weather, you got, you know, just normal wear and tear and deterioration that you need to maintain. You need to keep up with the plumbing. You need to keep up with the gutters. You need to keep up with the landscaping, with mowing the lawn. You need to keep up with a lot of things, right? And if you don't keep it up, it deteriorates a lot faster and they end up losing more money in the background if they let it deteriorate and they don't realize that that deterioration is costing them money every single month. Okay. Likewise, I mean, in the wintertime, most people don't think about this, but if they have a vacant house in the wintertime and they don't want it anymore, you know, in the next week or so, I believe one of the days, the nighttime is going to be 8 degrees up here. All right. Well, guess what happens when it's 8 degrees and there's no furnace running? The pipes are going to freeze. And when the pipes freeze and thaw out, it's going to burst the pipes. And you have a flooded basement, a flooded house, and it cause more problems. And if you warn them ahead of time, say, hey, listen, you know, you have a vacant house, it's going to deteriorate 10 times faster than if someone were living in it. All right. So why not sell it now? So that way you have to worry about the headache of the deterioration after it happens. Next is that they may not have the expertise to make the home retail ready. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people out there who love to do it yourself, DIY. All right. Well, guess what? Do it yourself does not make things retail ready. I know because I used to be one. Okay. And when I learned about real estate, I said, you know what? I can't be a DIY to make things retail ready. I got to hire a licensed professional who knows what they're doing, who knows what the county building codes are, pass inspections. So that way we get top dollar for the house. Otherwise, if it's all DIY, you're not gonna get top dollar for your house. Okay, so we want to be able to serve the community by being the experts in what needs to be done. So that way they realize it's such a headache that they don't want to go through that, and they're willing to sell to you at a discount. Or maybe the seller doesn't have the desire or time to do a traditional sale. All right, so that happens a lot as well. Okay. All these things here have a common thing. It leads to what we call a motivated seller. So you ever think in your entire life, if you've ever owned anything that you just flat out don't want anymore, maybe you've had it such a long time, it's deteriorated, you just don't care for it anymore. You know, you just want to get rid of it. Sometimes you post on a Craigslist and say, hey, pick up this couch, pick up this car, pick up this furniture. I don't want it anymore. It's free as long as you pick it up, right? So you're motivated enough to give it away. Likewise, houses are rarely given away, but they are sold at big discounts if you find a motivated seller in those situations. Okay, so how do you find motivated sellers? I mean, what situations cause people to be motivated? Well, number one, a situation of probate. Well, guess what? Life happens, right? People are born, people grow up, they have a career, they get old, they retire, and then unfortunately, they pass away and they leave this earth. Happens to everybody. No one can avoid it. Okay. So when it happened, that piece of real estate that person who passed away, who used to own, now goes through a probate process, and that probate process may be different in every state. For example, in the state of Virginia, it immediately goes to the heirs of the children of the deceased person. But if there are no children, it goes to the parents. If the parents don't exist, it goes to the aunts and uncles, and so forth and so forth. And there's no one there now. It goes to an estate and sits there for a while until the state figures out what to do with it. Okay. If there's no last will and testament, that's what happens. If there is a last will and testament, it designates the executor of the estate and who owns the property and so forth. But in this situation, whoever inherits the property most likely will not want that property to live in. All right. So when they don't want the property to live in and they have their own life to take care of, maybe they live long distance or they have a career somewhere else or they're raising a family abroad and they now inherit this property they no longer want, they don't want to have to come back into town to maintain it, to upkeep it, or to do whatever they need to. They probably want to sell it, liquidate it, get the cash in the bank, and then move on with their lives. In those situations, they tend to want to sell them at discounts because they know the house is probably outdated. All right. So in these situations here, All right. You can identify these people and the value proposition that we have versus them working with somebody else is that you, the investor, are willing to buy it as is, where it is. So no matter what the defects are, all right, known or unknown, there is no liability for them whatsoever, whether it be a health hazard, a structural hazard, or any kind of hazard that's life threatening or injury prone. They're not going to be liable for because in the contract clearly states that you're buying it as is, where it is, and they will not be liable for anything that's known or unknown after closing. Also, you'll be offering cash or cash equivalent. Well, guess what? If you're offering $200,000 for a house, does that mean you need to have $200,000 in the bank for yourself personally? The answer is no. All right. If you're working smartly, you're probably using a hard money lender and you're using a line of credit letter to be able to put offers in with that line of credit letter showing that you can close with cash equivalent because a line of credit is just like cash. All right. And your hard money lender can give that to you so that way you can use it to make offers and make your offers much stronger because they know now that you have cash to back up your offer. No hassles, no contingencies, fast closing. And guess what? Because you're not operating as a realtor, you're working as an investor, there are no agent commissions. All right. So that's the value proposition that you can offer them. And again, no hassle, meaning they'll get money in their bank account in 2 weeks or less once it's signed and ratified contract. If they chose to use the realtor route, there's no certainty they'll get money in the bank account in 2 months or not. But here for you, there's certainty 100% because you're going to close based on the price you need to buy it at. How do you find these leads? Well, you got obituaries, you got court records. Every property in the county or city that the property sits will go through a probate process that is required to be recorded in that local jurisdiction. All right. You can network with the state attorneys who specialize in this. You can ask for referrals. Who do you know who needs to sell the house right now? And of course, you can always use the multiple listing service and also prospecting to get to know people who are in these situations. Okay. I remember when I first started real estate investing, I could have helped one of my coworkers at the Department of Homeland Security 2 years prior, but I just didn't know how. Her mom had passed away, and I remember every weekend for almost a whole year, she was going to that property that her mom owned every weekend just to clean it out, renovate it herself, get it ready for the market. And she was complaining every single Monday because she was doing all this hardcore labor between her siblings, and her spouse just to get the house ready for sale. She much rather probably to avoid all that together, that whole year of all that labor, and get the money in the bank account, selling it as is to someone like us. But at that time, when she went through it, I did not know how to do real estate investing yet. Well, I wasn't trained. But had I been trained, I probably would have given a solution, and she probably would have been very happy to work with us in that fashion. So you never know who could use our services. Okay. So why do investors like this area? Well, we assist the heirs of the property who don't have time, money, or resources to make it retail ready, and they typically are motivated because they don't want to hold on to the property that has additional liability. Because if you own another property, guess what? You have taxes, you have insurance, and you may even have a mortgage to pay for. And most people who are living an average life don't want the additional expense of handling another property, so they want to sell it, get the cash out to reduce the monthly liabilities, and now have cash in the bank from the property's equity. Okay. Here's an example of a probate property. This house was located on 45th Place Southeast DC. And this one was found on the MLS, was posted by an estate attorney's agent. And I was able to build a great relationship with the estate attorney later on. We negotiated a great deal. And the person had passed away 2 years prior. So the house was vacant for 2 years. And you can tell that after 2 years of no one living in it, it deteriorated pretty badly. All right. So with that, offered opportunity for us to be able to fix it up and put it to code. And once you purchased it, so you'll see the difference like night and day. This is what the picture looked like before the property when we first bought it. And this is what it looked like afterwards after we sold the property. All right. So you'll see here that it was 2 bedroom, 1 bath initially. We were able to convert it into a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and then sell for a much higher price and made a decent amount on the spread as a fix and flip deal. All right. So another way to get deals are not only probate, but also short sales. All right. Sometimes financial hardships happen to people. They lose their jobs, or maybe they bought the house at the height of the market, and now the house is underwater because it's gone down in value. They overpaid for the property, whatever the reason may be. The only thing we know is that the house is underwater. Okay. So that means the property is less than what the mortgage balance is. And that could be the result of the house losing value, the house being deteriorated due to lack of maintenance and upkeeping, or maybe the fact that they have not paid their mortgage in multiple years, and where the payoff has increased every single month because of past due balances, interest, and also penalties along the way. So because of that, it's now underwater. And when it's underwater, you now need bank approval to be able to buy the house for less than what the mortgage balance really is. Okay. For me personally, I have no sympathy for the banks. The banks already have a situation to where they have the best of all the worlds, where they have so much in the money in deposit, but they can loan 8 to 12 times more of that amount as mortgages. So I don't find it fair. So I have no sympathy for the banks whatsoever. So if they lose money, I don't care. Okay. I just want a good deal for my business to be able to support my family and my growing small business. So here's the value of our service. Okay. You can work with the bank, all right, or whoever's working with the bank, with the owner, and or maybe the owner's agent, to show that you're buying a house as is, where is, and you can work with the short sale negotiator to show why you're offering it, the price you're offering it, and provide justification. All right, maybe you can get a BPO, a broker's price opinion, to show what the house is really worth. Or you can show that a construction estimate of what's needed to be done to the property to make it retail ready again. And with pictures, all right. A lot of times, pictures, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So pictures of mold, pictures of cracks in the foundation, pictures of water damage, pictures of stuff that makes the house not livable or not safe will motivate the bank to give you an approval for that less than for that offer that's less than the mortgage balance. Okay. And of course, the owner's motivated to do this because they don't want a foreclosure on the credit report. A foreclosure lasts 7 years on the credit report. Whereas if they do a short sale, it only lasts for a few years and then it's gone. Okay. So how do you find these leads? You can do direct mail. You can network with bankruptcy attorneys. People who are underwater or past due, they generally like to file Chapter 13 or Chapter 7 bankruptcy just to stop the foreclosure process and delay the process. But if they don't have the money or a strategy to be able to maintain or retain the house, then they're just delaying the inevitable. And when the inevitable happens, you want to be there to be able to help that person get to that property sold so they can move on there. So here's an example. Okay, here's another property in Southeast DC. The existing mortgage of this house was $260,000. All right, that was the payoff balance, and every month that went by, it increased because that of the past due balance to be included. This person didn't pay their mortgage for almost 3 years, so it just added on every single month. Okay. And they were living in there for a while, and then the house was just not bearable anymore, so they moved to Iowa. But they still want to work with us to avoid the foreclosure altogether. Well, guess what? Even though the balance of the mortgage was $260,000, we were able to purchase it for $131. That's 50% less. All right, 50% off the entire mortgage balance. And again, do I have any sympathy with the bank losing $130,000? The answer is no. Okay, I promise you, if the bank loses $130,000, they'll still be in business tomorrow. Okay. I mean, the government's going to bail them out, but they're big enough to be sustainable because they're making so much money elsewhere, and to where 130,000 is like nothing to them. They'd rather sell that to avoid foreclosure just to cut the losses and move on to the next deal. All right. So again, the whole mindset of a short sale is have no sympathy for the bank. You get the best deal as you can, and I promise you, the lender is going to still be there long after you purchase this deal. So here's a short sale example. After it was done, you can see the pictures like night and day. That's what it looked like before the renovation. By the way, this was done by one of our students. All right. And they were able to get a good profit out of that. And that's what it looked like afterwards. They redid the retaining wall, the siding, made a nice curb appeal with landscaping, and was able to sell at the decent price as a fix and flip. Sold for $400,000. So not a bad deal. Okay. All right. The other ones are FSBOs. And what are FSBOs? It stands for sale by owner. And a lot of times these are typically do-it-yourself people, DIY. So if they're selling it themselves, most likely 9 times out of 10, if you walk into that house, you'll see stuff that were done by them. All right. They put that crown molding by themselves. They put that baseboard by themselves. They put that hardwood by themselves. And it's probably done all wrong. Okay. But they're still very proud of it. Okay. So FSBOs are great deals because they don't want to work with an agent. They're motivated to work with someone like you, and they're going to advertise a heck of all the work they did in the past, 20 or 30 years. And even though it's outdated, they're still going to try and sell it to you. But that's okay. If you have a good relationship and rapport with them, eventually they'll cut a deal with you because of that rapport and relationship. All right. Again, they don't want to work with agents. They want to work directly with the seller, and they feel like they've accomplished something by saving 6% of what they normally would have paid for with a realtor if they'd not done a for sale by owner situation. Okay, so the value of our service is same thing. You buy it as is, where it is. We give cash equivalent offers, no contingency, fast closing, no agent commissions. Okay, that's music to their ears. How do you find them? All right, direct mail, referrals. All right, MOS. That if you're an agent right now, you go on the MOS list and you can look for listings that are withdrawn or expired. Maybe now in their situation to where they're so sick and tired of using an agent, they're ready to do it on their own. Maybe the agent gave them bad customer service, or they didn't know what they were doing. They overpriced the thing, or they just had a bad bedside manner, whatever it may be. Okay, there's a reason why the listing is now withdrawn or expired. So we want to leverage that reason and then hopefully work with them through our angle and sell direct to us without using an agent. Okay, or you driving by on certain neighborhoods that you want to focus on, and you see FSBO signs. You see that a lot. Divorce attorneys or your prospecting. Okay, so a lot of different ways to get FSBOs. So here's an example of a property. This is located in Vienna, Virginia. All right. So this is a listing I saw a while back, and I noticed it was withdrawn. All right. So I looked down. I was able to get the contact information of the owner because we had another fix and flip property just down the street. And because it was down the street, I drove by this one all the time. All right. And so I noticed that the for sale by a realtor sign was removed, and now there's a big thing in front that says for sale by owner. Well, guess what? I took a picture of that on my phone, called them right away to see what the situation was and why they were using FSBO instead of using an agent, and was identified that this person was ready to move. They wanted to close before winter, before they had to winterize the pipes. They wanted to move to West Virginia, and they're ready to do a deal. And so we went back and forth for a week and a half or so with negotiating numbers. He listed this, you see, at 469 on the listing on the MOS. All right, the agent couldn't sell it. In fact, I remember he told me that the agent was not very responsive on many things, so that's why he didn't like working with her and moved on from there. All right, well, take a look at this. We were able to close before, right after winter started, right after Christmas, so he was very happy with that, and we closed for $401,000. Now, you think about it, if he sold at 469 and paying 6% agent commission, at 465 times 6%, that's roughly 25, maybe 30K. All right. So he would have netted only 439, 435-ish, but we were able to work out a deal to where he got 401. And that's only about $30,000 off had he used an agent. So he was okay with that. We renovated the house and sold it 6 months later for 570. I believe the renovation cost for this one was only about $40,000. So we made a really decent spread there and was very excited about the results of that. So there's an example of a for sale by owner. All right. All right, and then when you're marketing for deals, what you want to do is always have an active pipeline. So you guys remember my story is that when I first started, I left my job after getting 12 deals done, 12 fix and flips. But I only left my job not only because I finished the 12 deals, but because I had a strong pipeline of new business coming in as I was leaving the door at my job. So maintaining a pipeline of qualified leads of people who are ready to sell their house, or maybe things that are already ratified, was very crucial for me to leave my job. Because what I didn't want to happen is me leave my job and I had no business. All right. I had no qualified leads to work with and nothing to do. And now I'm scrambling because I don't have a regular income anymore. And I'm scrambling and I'm desperate, and I don't want to seem desperate. Okay. So when you're working with a seller, motivated seller, you don't want to be desperate, because if you seem desperate to them, you'll never get a good deal because they'll walk away from you because you seem desperate. Okay. So you want to have a strong pipeline of people who are going through your funnel. Your prospects will begin to become your leads. And then as you look at those leads, you identify if they're motivated or not. If they are motivated, then they are now qualified leads. And if you have a strong qualified lead pipeline, let's say you have 10 of those, you're in pretty good shape that you'll be closing one in the very near future. All right. It all depends on the timing too. So, and it's very cyclical. It goes through different cycles. Okay. All right. And then, like I said, the funnel is like this. You got hot leads. They lead to you going back and forth and communicating with them and negotiating a good deal that works for you and works for them at the same time. You write contracts and then take a look at the contracts. That way they fully understand the terms of the agreement, of the purchase price, and how much they expect in their bank account once everything is sold. And of course, the deals that are closed. Okay. When I say deals closed, by the way, this could mean anything. It could mean a deal closed for you to buy it, to renovate it, and then sell it for a profit, or to buy it, to hold it and rent it out for cash flow, or to close it and assign your contract to another end buyer, another investor, for an assignment fee. So those are what I mean by deals closed. It could be anything, fix and flip, wholesale, or buy and hold. Doesn't matter what your exit strategy is that we want the deals closed so that way you move up through your progress meter in real estate investing. Okay. So now we're gonna go through questions real quick, okay? And I'm gonna scroll through the chat box here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to continue to chat, tap into the chat box here, and we can address them as they come in. All right, the first question looks like it's coming in from Carlos, and the question is, any wholesalers have any deals in Prince William County or Fauquier County? I'm interested. All right, so Carlos, I really appreciate that, and we do have a large network of deals that come into our pipeline. So if you're logged into our Meetup page, all right, we generally advertise out our deals on Meetup.com. And we cover the whole DMV area. So if it's not Prince William County or Fauquier County, it may not be a deal for you, but we always publish that on a very regular basis as they come to us through our pipeline. So the ones we may do ourselves and the ones who may broadcast to the team and the broadcast to the whole group to see who's interested. And generally what we'll do is we'll have an open house at a given time and a given date. You go there, take a look at it, look at your numbers, do your analysis. If you like it, you make an offer. If you don't like it, you move on to the next one. Okay. And so that's how we would do. So I appreciate you giving that and look forward to seeing your deals in Prince William County and also Fauquier County. Okay. Next question we have here is from Frank. His question is, what's an inexpensive way to actually find leads? I'm glad you asked that because one of my things is that when I first started, I was a big cheapskate. Remember, I had 5 kids and I wanted to be able to feed them without them suffering because I'm starting a brand new business, right? So what I did inexpensively was that I did a couple of things, all right? I made some mistakes along the way, but what I learned is that the cheapest way for me to get started was just really going through my network and not being afraid to approach the people that I know who are warm to me, my family, my friends, my coworkers, people I go to church with, my neighbors, people that I already have a relationship with, and simply say, hey, listen, I'm starting a new business. We're looking for houses to buy. If there's anyone who needs to sell their house in the next 90 days, would you be willing to refer them to me? And if the deal closes, I will pay a referral fee of up to $1,000. All right. So who will say no to $1,000, right? Okay. So I've done that often, and I've never paid $1,000. I always say up to $1,000 because if the margins are good, I'll pay higher. If the margins are not as good, I'll pay less. All right. So you dictate how much you want to pay. So I've paid anywhere between $250 to $750, depending on how good the deal is, and that only is paid out once the deal closes. And I tell you, once you give them those checks, they're going to want to do it again because it's like free money to them. And like, all I gotta do is refer people to you that I know and I get paid. And the answer is yes. All right. So it's free and you only pay when you have a deal. All right. So unlike traditional marketing, you're gonna pay for that marketing, whether it be Google ads or direct mail. You're gonna pay that money, but you're still not guaranteed to get a deal or not. Here with referrals, you only pay when you get a deal. So now it's worth it to pay out because you already have a deal in the pipeline where you get a return on investment for it. All right. Whereas traditional marketing, there is no guarantee that you'll get a return on investment. All right. So I hope that answered your question, Frank. So that's a very good question. Hope everyone got some input out of that as well. Next question is from Michael. And the question is, how did you identify your short sales? Great question. All right. So from short sales, what I did was a number of ways. All right. I can look on the MOS. If you don't have access to MOS because you're not an agent, you can network with a real estate agent, ask them to send you all the short sales in a particular zip code. So that's the first way. Okay. The second way is that you can start building relationships with bankruptcy attorneys or title companies that are very specific to doing short sales. All right. So they may have leads come in for themselves. They need to make money also as a title company, as an attorney and then a law firm. They make money as well, but they only make money when deals transact. All right. So they want deals that come to them from their marketing, but they want to work with people like you who can close the deal so that way they can get paid. Okay. So again, bankruptcy attorneys, law firms, and things of that sort. And any attorneys who help people who are in foreclosures and situation of foreclosures or pre-foreclosures and stuff like that. Usually it's a bankruptcy attorney. Okay. And then also using an agent to access MOS and also just asking people, who do you know right now who needs to sell their house? And, these things are very private because people are ashamed of doing short sales because they feel like they're embarrassed by it. But hey, that's okay. We'll keep everything confidential. And a lot of times too, they're underwater and don't want to list with an agent because if they list with an agent, now the whole neighborhood knows they're underwater, right? And they want to avoid it altogether. So if they can do something under off market with you, they'd be all for that to avoid that embarrassment with the neighborhood and their neighbors altogether. Okay. Next question is from Lincoln, and the question is, how do you approach probate divorce attorneys for leads? Great question. I like every person I approach, I want to ask, what's in it for me? Because everyone's tuned into the same exact radio station, WIIFM. what's in it for me. So if you happen to know a probate attorney or divorce attorney and you approach them to have a quick consultation or take them out for coffee or whatnot, what's in it for them? Say, well, if you have leads to come in order for you to make money, you have to sell the property, correct? Like, for example, if it's probate, in order for them to make money, that estate needs to sell the piece of property so that way the law firm gets paid. That's how they get paid, right? So they're incentivized to find someone to be able to buy the property. Traditionally, a probate attorney would use an agent. They use an agent. Now they have to pay agent commissions, which means the estate will get less money. And if the estate gets less money, their law firm may get less money. So their benefit and their, what's in it for them is that they work with you. There are no agent commissions. There's a higher spread in the estate for them to make money, to draw money from, for them to do services for the estate and go from there. Likewise with divorce attorneys, right? Or any other attorneys, you want to think what's in it for them and approach it in that aspect. Okay, so great question. All right, next question is from Carlos again. What is the process of buying a bankruptcy property? Well, a bankruptcy property is when you file depending on chapter 7 or chapter 13, it just delays the process. It just delays foreclosure. Now, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, these bankruptcy cases that are filed get dismissed because all they're doing is delaying the inevitable, right? So in the process of them filing the bankruptcy and want to avoid foreclosure, the owner who still technically owns the property and not the bank yet because there's no foreclosure yet, they will want to work with you so that way they can avoid foreclosure. So again, WIIFM, what's in it for them? They avoid 7 years of a bad ding on the credit report by avoiding foreclosure. All right. So if you network with a bankruptcy attorney, if you network with people who just happen to be in a situation to where they need to file a bankruptcy or need to do a loan modification or whatnot, then those are the ways of getting leads from them. And as you approach them, again, what's in it for them? You have a deal to close, and they make money by charging the bankruptcy charge onto the sale of the property on the back end once the property sells, and that's how they get paid. Because if people are underwater and they're filing bankruptcy, most of the time they don't have the money to pay for attorney fees, right? And the only way the attorneys get paid is when the property sells and they tap on an amount on the HUD to be able to get at closing once the property sells. Okay, so hopefully that answered the question there. So Carlos, thank you for that. Next question is from Frank. Is ask agent for all short sales and MLS network. Ask people if they know of anyone. Yes, that's correct. That's an answer to exactly what we said earlier about how to find short sale deals. Okay, so great, guys. I hope that questions was insightful. And what I want to do now, guys, is I want to share you guys an exciting announcement because we have been doing this for the last 10 years, 11 years now. In fact, we're now in the new year. And we've had so much success that we started this networking group. We used to do it in person before COVID. Now we're doing it virtually post-COVID. All right. So hopefully down the road when these surges slow down a little bit, we'll go back to in-person meetings. But we've grown so much, not from starting with fix and flips to learning how to wholesale, to doing buy and holds, to having our own financing company, to have our own construction company now. Something we started very recently. And the reason why we do that is because we saw a need in the marketplace. Because as you know, with all these inventory shortages or the supply chain issues, cost of lumber, cost of metal, cost of different building materials have skyrocketed off the roof like crazy. But also, not only skyrocketing prices, the delay in lead time in getting materials on site to get your project done as fast as possible. We've learned so much things across this past year or so of our construction company from our own projects that we are now to launch our construction company to the public as well, to people like you. So if you guys are doing fix and flip deals, if you're doing condo conversions, if you're doing buy and hold, rental grade renovations anywhere in the DMV area, we actually have that. And we actually have a YouTube video that's going to be playing here. So Irel, if you can pull up that YouTube video here, that'd be great. And we want to show you exactly how this is going to work along the way on how you guys can get that services from us and all that stuff. So Irel, if you can get that YouTube video up, that'd be awesome. All right. Awesome. We'll play it right now. Thank you. Hi, my name is Nhan Lam, and I'm the founder of the Fortune Homes team. For the past 10 years, we have personally been investing in real estate. From fix and flip, buy and hold rentals, and large projects just like this, to convert a row house into a 2-unit condo conversion like a brand new build in DC. We have the experience and know what it takes to pass inspections and do it at a very affordable rate. We are now ready to share our construction team to the public. We have learned a lot in the last decade on how to minimize costs by buying things in bulk and at the same time having a crew who knows what they're doing to make sure your house passes inspection, and also getting things at wholesale prices to allow the investor to be able to sell it at top dollar prices or rent it at top rental prices. Our construction team is designed for investors by investors. We are committed to helping you increase your bottom line by giving you the best prices possible when renovating your property. To get a quote from us, email us at quotes@fortunehomesconstruction.com or contact us at the number below, and one of our representatives will come to your property to provide a quote on the spot. All right, so I just want to share that video with you guys real quick because I think it says a lot about what we're able to do. You can go to our website to see more details on what we do. But if you have any projects, we can send out someone or other to give you guys a quote. And keep in mind that we are very transparent on what lead times are when it comes to materials and what costs are to expect. So that way you're not caught on the blind side. See, what I've done in the past 10 years, I've learned so much from contractors and how they make money. And they make money through change orders. They'll give you a quote based on the scope you think you need now, but then later on during the project say, oh, by the way, there's mold here. Oh, by the way, there's water damage here. And they do what we call a change order. And those change orders are how they make a lot of money. And now there's tons and tons of increases that you didn't expect along the way. So because we understand what it takes to make the house retail ready, we already anticipate certain allowances for things that are not seen behind the wall. We already know these things are going to be there based on the age of the house and the condition of the house and how long it's been vacant, just from past experience. So we're going to put the quote right there. Now, unless there's a big drastic change in scope that's decided by you, the price should pretty much be fixed there. Again, as long as you keep maintaining the scope. Now, if you decide to change an appliance package or decide to do a bump out or something like that, of course, that's going to have an increased scope because that's the scope that you're changing. But we're going to provide the recommendation we think you would need to be able to make your house retail ready so you can get top dollar for your houses. Or if it's rental, we might get you top rental prices, okay? So with that, guys, I'm excited about next month, all right? Next month is another free event. Wednesday, February 9th, we are going to talk about how to negotiate the deal and how to qualify your seller so that way you get the best possible margins, okay? On top there, you'll see here to click here to RSVP. Click there now so that way you can RSVP for the event and you can log on to book your registration and before it's sold out, because we only have a capacity to handle so many people on this platform. So make sure you click on it to RSVP now, and it will send you reminders when the time comes. And if you know anyone who you think this topic can benefit from, please do refer them to them at our website at nhanlamacademy.com. Click on the events, click on free trainings, and then you'll see the different topics that we'll be doing across the year, because every month we will have a brand new topic that you guys can learn from. So with that, thank you very much. God bless everyone. We'll see everyone next month on February 9th. Thank you.